Okay, good evening to everyone. I'm Giulia Maria Grasso, and today I want to acknowledge, first of all, the entire commission, Professor Vera Muccilli, Nunzio Cardullo, Giuseppe Angirella, and dear Professor Maria Giovanna Chini, who is connected with us today. Today, I'll discuss about this work that I carried out at the Laboratory of Bioactive Natural Compounds of University of Catania, which title is Synthesis of an Analog of Resveratrol and Azelaic Acid as a Novel Inhibitor of the Melanogenesis Pathway. First of all, I want to start about discussing about the difference between tyrosine and tyrosinase. Here is reported the molecular structure of tyrosine, which is an amino acid that possesses a stereocenter. In this case, it's in its L configuration, and has the rule to be a melanin precursor. And here is reported the typical structure of tyrosinase, which is a type 3 copper-containing enzyme that has the rule to catalyze tyrosine oxidation and hydroxylation. In this slide is reported the mechanisms in which tyrosinase is involved. First of all, we start seeing tyrosinase in its met form, which is the main form in which is isolated in the main part of the compounds and organisms in which it can be found. And in this cycle, the met form can reduce itself to the deoxy form, that is this one shown here, while oxidating catechols. Then the deoxyform can react with the O2 and transform itself to the oxyform that is able to reduce, to oxidate both phenols and catechols while reducing itself to the met form. And in this case, the cycle restarts. So we can see in this picture two different types of cycles, the monophenolase and the diphenolase one. In this slide is reported the general reaction that occurs when tyrosine reacts with O2 in presence of tyrosinase. And what we obtain is this O-quinone, which name is dopaquinone. And here are also reported all the non-enzymatic polymerization that dopaquinone can undergo to form two different kinds of melanin, which name is eumelanin or phenylalanine. And we know that the process of the genesis of the melanin is called melanogenesis, and it is promoted by UV rays, so UV light, and occurs in melanosomes that are organelles that are collocated near the basal cells. So in these organelles occurs the process of synthesis of the melanin that then is transferred all over the epidermis, so the external part of our skin. Here is reported, are reported the different colors in which we can find melanin in our skin. So we know that melanin is responsible for skin pigmentation and also skin tanning, which can function as a barrier against UV rays. And we know that thanks to the combination of pheomelanin and eumelanin that are brown and red-yellow pigments, we can have the typical, the characteristic color of the skin. But we know that when tyrosinase is expressed in an irregular way, this can lead to an abnormal production of melanin, and this can lead to different consequences and problems that can be referred, for example, to the human body. We have, for example, hyperpigmentation, that is a problem linked to an overproduction of melanin that can consist, for example, in the appearance of senile spots or freckles, but it can consist also in something more important as the appearance of malignant melanoma tumors. And then we can have also consequences on fruit, for example, because when the external part of fruit is exposed to air, so to O2, tyrosinase can be involved in the process of the enzymatic browning of fruit, decreasing what are their nutritional and commercial value and power. So what is our aim is to find tyrosinase inhibitor to monitor the tyrosinase activity. And among them, we have surely polyphenols that can be divided in different categories. For example, phenolic acid, flavonoids, stilbenes, and lignans. And they are present in plants and fruit, and they have great antioxidant power. And they are known to be good inhibitors of tyrosinase. In particular, we focus on resveratrol, which is a stilbenoid, and it is known to inhibit in a direct way the activity of tyrosinase because it has free OH moieties that resemble the molecule to L-tyrosine. We have also as inhibitor the azelaic acid, which is a saturated carboxylic acid that can act also in this case as a competitive inhibitor for tyrosinase and is known for its anti-inflammatory and antibacterial properties. And for this reason can be used as a skin whitening agent and also in cosmetic formulations to reduce acne propagation. But we know that due to its structure, has poor skin absorption, and for this reason is needed to be present in cosmetic formulation in percentages that go to 10, from 10 to 30%. And also the reappliance of this cream, for example, this cosmetic formulation, it's needed because it doesn't penetrate well the skin barrier, and this can lead to some problems, for example, skin irritation. So here are reported the pros and the cons of employing tyrosinase inhibitors. Among the pros, we have surely the possibility to inhibit directly the tyrosinase activity. Among the cons, the scarce bioavailability and solubility, in particular in lipophilic systems as our skin barrier, and they can cause irritation. So the solution that we can find are, for example, to conjugate with other compounds these well-known natural inhibitors to enhance their inhibitory power, and then also to try to increase bioavailability and liposolubility, modifying what is the chemical structure and then all the chemical and physical properties of the molecule. So the aim of the work is to put together these two molecules, which are indeed azelaic acid and resveratrol, that are well-known inhibitors of tyrosinase present in nature, and obtain a new molecule that can potentially act as a prodrug with potential better bioavailability and liposolubility. So what we did in laboratory is to follow a multi-step synthesis. And the first step of this synthesis was to protect the OH moieties of resveratrol by using acetic anhydride, which is the molecule that gives in the reaction the acetyl groups, in a basic ambient and anhydrous ambient. And the reaction was carried out at room temperature for 6 hours. We obtain an almost quantitative reaction, and the yield of the process of purification that was needed because we obtained a mixture of products was of 77.42%. Then the second step consisted in deprotecting, so removing only one of the acetyl group. And for this reason, we needed to do a selective reaction by the use of an enzyme. So we suspended this molecule in N-butanol and TBME, and then we added at the end PSL, which is our enzyme, and the reaction was carried out at 37 degrees for 3 hours. What we obtained was this product, and it was obtained in an extremely pure quantity. And we could prove this because we analyzed this reaction mixture, by using a TLC analysis. And what we have seen is that the molecule was totally pure and was present itself. So the yield of this this reaction was of 98.4%, and no chromatographic separations were needed. Here we have the main reaction of our multi-step synthesis that consists in the formation of the ester bond between the protected resveratrol and the azelaic acid. And we did this reaction by using coupling agents as DMAP and DCC. And we conducted this reaction in dichloromethane for 4 hours at room temperature. What we can see by the TLC analysis is the formation of a great quantity of different products that are really similar one to the other in terms of polarity. And for this reason was needed a chromatographic separation with a gradient elution by using different element mixtures. And then what was the product expected is this one reported here, made by 1 unit of resveratrol and 1 unit of azelaic acid. But what we obtained with a yield of 36.58% was this molecule shown in the slide that is composed by 2 units of resveratrol, both protected with acetyl groups that are linked together with a molecule of azelaic acid that acts as a bridge between them. So we can affirm that the molecule formed was this one thanks to the characterization that we did with NMR spectra. And we did 2 different spectra, the CNMR and the HNMR. Here is reported the H1, so related to the signals due to the presence of hydrogens that are linked to carbons. And we can consider only the first part of the molecule because it is highly symmetric. So in the graph, we can see, for example, this zone that is related to the presence of the aromatic group, so the benzenic rings, because we are in the characteristic part of the NMR spectra in which we find these peaks. And this part goes from 7.5 to 6.5 ppm. And we have different signals that are related to different hydrogens that resonate at different frequencies due to the different chemical surroundings in which hydrogens are. And in this part of the graph, we can see, for example, this peak that is the most intense one, that is clearly related to the 12 hydrogens. For this reason, it integrates for 12, and that are linked to the methyl carbons linked to a carbonylic group. And for this reason, it resonates at very low frequencies, as, for example, the hydrogens that are linked to the carbons of the alkylic chain. We can couple the previous spectra with this one that is obtained by the CNMR spectra. And in this spectra, we can also find all the information that we can find in the previous one, because there are also the signals that are related to quaternary carbons, for example. And thanks to this characterization, we can affirm that we obtained in a greater quantity this molecule reported here. We also try to deacetylate this compound only to prove the feasibility of this process, even though we know that the acetyl groups can be a great advantage for the final molecule. And we know that using this process, so an acid hydrolysis with the chlorhydric acid, we didn't obtain a selective reaction, because not only the acetyl groups were broken and removed, but also the bond between resveratrol and azelaic acid was broken. So for this reason, we can hypothesize that this reaction, this selective reaction, could be made by the use of an enzyme. So the considerations that we can do are, for example, that we isolated and characterized a new hybrid molecule, which is made by 2 moieties of resveratrol linked to 1 of azelaic acid that are themselves 2 good natural tyrosinase inhibitors. But we know that that wasn't the goal of our work. So the goal was to synthesize the molecule formed by only a unit of resveratrol that was formed from this reaction, but only in a negligible amount. So what we can affirm is that the reaction conditions can be optimized to obtain a greater quantity of that product. And for example, this can be made by changing the ratio between resveratrol and azelaic acid. At the end, we obtained a complexity yield of 20% circa, and we know that this low yield may be explained with losses during all the chromatographic separations that we did in laboratory. To conclude, we know that this molecule obtained by precursors are themselves good inhibitors for the melanogenesis process. And we expect that this new compound that we synthesized can be powerful tyrosinase inhibitors, and there are different in vitro studies that are in progress to confirm our hypothesis. And also thanks to different studies in vivo that are already made, we can also affirm that the presence of the acetyl function can make the molecule more liposoluble and bioavailable. And for this reason, this can open the door to new progress and innovation in different fields as the cosmetic, pharmaceutic, and dermatologic one. Thank you for the attention.